One of the most talked about college football players from a season ago, James Pearce Jr., was back home today for Tennessee's Pro Day, and he continued to shine once again. But I think for him, the one thing he wanted to showcase were maybe his skill sets off of the field. The other things that I noticed was Sampson looked incredibly strong, and then Omari getting snaps on offense was certainly interesting. I'll give you my observations following Tennessee's Pro Day. I'm Paige Dower. This is the Field Pass on Full Disclosure. James Pearce Jr. had a ton of eyes on him today, but that's nothing new for the edge defender, especially when you consider all of the hype and attention he had before the season started a year ago and where people thought he would be as a draft prospect. Despite falling down in the ranks, he's still the same fast, speedy player that showed up today for Tennessee's Pro Day. What I liked when I was watching him do the drills on the other side of the field was his speed for one, his agility, especially when it comes to his ability to cut and get around the tackles and the guards, and his ability to do that and be agile, I think was probably his greatest strength today. But beyond maybe where he was shining in areas that we knew he probably was going to, was how he took critique. There were a couple of times where the scout or whoever was leading that drill would come to him and kind of try to correct his hand position, and mostly his hands were when he was trying in those blocking drills, trying to get through the blocks and where it's ideal for his hand to be on the pad, and he took that and then was immediately able to make adjustments after that. So it showed that he was really coachable in that moment, which I think adds incredible value to players when it comes to their NFL draft stock. Now, beyond what he can do on the field, I think today was also another opportunity for him to kind of showcase what he can do off of the field, and all of that has to do is maybe looping back to that negative press that he was getting during the NFL Combine and the early draft day process. For him, he really wanted to show like how he is as a teammate, how personable he is. You saw that plenty, or I saw that plenty today, but that was certainly a point of emphasis for James Pearce Jr.
I'm a great guy. I'm a great teammate, great player, great people person, got a good heart.
Maturity was also another angle that he's hoping is highlighted throughout this whole process. It's something Josh Heupel emphasized during his quick media availability after Pro Day, that his maturation during his time at Tennessee, he was one of the first guys to kind of have those signs where he was growing up, did have great signs of maturity, and it's one of the things that Heupel highlighted when it came to his personality and how he is as a teammate.
I think the versatility of what we do defensively, 4 down, 3 down, him playing into the boundary to the field, off the ball as a linebacker. He's been exposed to all of those things. James is extremely bright, retains information extremely quickly. That's important at the next level, the versatility that he has.
My next observation is Sampson, and he physically looked a lot stronger today, and I find that to be very impressive when we can maybe flash back to the last game of the regular season against Ohio State, and he only played just a couple of snaps because of that lingering hamstring injury. So his ability to rehab that, recover from it, then put on some mass. He says he's about 205 right now, but still feels really light on his feet. I think shows incredible dedication that he has to his craft and his hopes and dreams to make it to the NFL. So during today, it was good to see that he had great speed. He was able to make some good cuts and was very successful on the receiving drills, which we know they used him a lot in those check down type plays last season. He says being able to have that versatility, he thinks adds great value to his overall stock.
It felt nice to me. That's something I know I could do kind of like all along. I just didn't get much of a chance to show it, but hopefully all the scouts and all the coaches out here saw that, even though I haven't practiced it that much, that it's still natural to me, and the sky's the ceiling for me in the receiving, aspect.
Now, while it's great he's been able to put back on a couple more pounds and maybe even be a little heavier than when he was here at Tennessee, he's still 5'8". He's still that undersized kind of running back, but he's been able to find a way to turn that into a positive, and I think it's the way the league is going too. Not every running back has to look like Derrick Henry. There are, examples where there are smaller or undersized running backs have success and longevity in the NFL, and that's kind of what he's keeping his focus on, that there have been past examples, and he knows how much skill he has and how elusive he can be, and he believes that's really going to separate him and give him a fair chance when it comes to draft day.
And I think as a running back, being dynamic is that's more like durability. That's more years, that's more contracts you can have just by doing things outside of the course. So I feel good about where the game is going, and it's set up for players like me now.
If you want to hear more from Dylan Sampson, I have the interview linked in the description, among a couple other players who talked, like Thornton. That's back on the home tab under the bonus tab. The final observation that I had was Omari Thomas getting snaps on offense. I believe there's always been talk that maybe he would have had a better career if he were on offense the whole time. He had a very great career being on defense, and even while on defense, you could tell how athletic he was and how speedy he looked. Well, that was on full display today when he was doing some offensive line drills. Even when it started with him on his back, he had to turn over, stand up, and then go whichever direction that scout or leader was telling them to go. And it was in those type drills that you had to make really sharp cuts side to side, back and forth, that he looked really fast and looked really speedy, had great agility to him. There was one where he was doing a similar drill like that, cutting back and forth, and as he kind of ran through and was finished with that drill, he ran right next to Cooper Mace, who I saw had just the biggest grin on his face as like a sign of approval, or being impressed with what he was able to do, because who knows when he had the notice that they also too wanted him to get in on some offensive line drills. So I think there's a lot of positive notes from seeing what he was able to do in a position that he's not practiced in, and who knows how many years, or at least how many months since maybe the draft process started. But when I asked Josh Heupel about what impressed him about Omari Thomas, he too looked a little bit like Cooper Mace and had a big smile on his face.
Omari looked pretty good. Omari's done such a great job on the defensive line, been a huge part of the culture, the locker room, and us building our program. Got a great future in front of him, but he does. He flipped over for some of the drills today. Natural skill set there as well. Excited to see his career unfold.
Now, another player who had great success today, and you can find his interview, like I mentioned a moment ago, back on the home tab, is Thornton. He had a great day today, especially with the different types of routes that he was running. He believes he can be really successful in a wider route tree. I asked Josh Heupel if what gives him confidence that he can do that. He disagreed with my remark that it would be a wider, wide receiving route tree than what they run here at Tennessee, but nonetheless still believes he can be successful at the next level. His best days are ahead of him, is kind of what he said about every player who participated in Pro Day today. So if you want to hear more from Heupel and the other guys as well, definitely go back to the homepage under the bonus tab, give all of that a listen. And I also have some highlights from Pro Day as well if you want more of those clips. That's under practice highlights for now. But I will talk to you guys maybe later today. I'm going to go to softball after this. It's a busy time on Rocky Top, a little bit of baseball, a little bit of softball, a little bit of football. Can't get enough of it, but I'll talk to you guys later tonight.